Beloved, chosen one, heaven has just pressed pause on everything around you. The feed stopped, the noise faded, and time itself seemed to hold its breath, because this moment right now is divine. You didn't stumble here by accident. The Spirit orchestrated this exact pause so that your weary heart could finally hear what has been whispered over you for seasons. You are chosen, you are seen, and you are loved beyond comprehension. You have been carrying so much, haven't you? The weight of questions, the uncertainty of what comes next, the hidden ache that even words cannot explain. Yet heaven interrupts this silence with a holy announcement. You are not forgotten. You are on God's radar. Every sleepless night, every unspoken prayer, every time you said, Lord, I can't take another step, He heard you. This message is not a coincidence, it's a divine appointment. Heaven wants to speak directly to you, to realign what's been drifting and reignite what's been dimmed. You may have thought this was just another scroll, but the truth is that the hand of God has intercepted your moment to remind you you are on sacred ground. You are standing in a spiritual pause, where eternity leans close and whispers your name. God is not speaking to everyone right now, He is speaking to you. The very fact that you are reading these words means heaven has something urgent to deposit into your spirit. Pay attention. Every sentence is a seed meant to awaken something ancient and divine within you. You see, the world wants you distracted. The enemy wants your attention scattered, your confidence shaken, your purpose blurred by confusion and comparison. But heaven refuses to lose you. So here comes the interruption, a holy intervention. It's love wearing the clothing of warning. It's mercy wrapped in urgency, because your timeline may scroll fast. But eternity does not move in haste. God waits until the exact moment your heart is ready to hear Him again. Listen carefully. Chosen one, there are seasons when heaven stops the storm. And there are seasons when heaven stops you, not to punish you, but to protect you. You were running too fast in directions that could have led to destruction. So heaven pressed pause. The noise had to die down so your spirit could wake up. It was revealed through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, Be still and know that I am God. Right now, the Spirit of God is reaching into your atmosphere, cutting through every distraction, whispering to the deepest part of your being, you have not been abandoned. You have been chosen for a divine assignment. The same God who called Moses from the burning bush is calling you out of your silence. The same voice that told Elijah, Go again, is telling you to rise again. You were not made to blend in with the world. You were designed to stand out, to burn bright, to be light in the shadows. That is why your battles have been so intense. That is why your path has been so narrow, because the enemy recognized your anointing long before you did. And now, heaven is reclaiming you from the noise of the earth. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet pull in your spirit, the sense that something holy is happening right now. The tears, the goosebumps, the way your heart begins to race. It's not emotion, it's recognition. Your spirit recognizes its Creator's voice. You've been waiting to hear this. There's a reason God's timing feels delayed. He's not late. He's aligning. He's positioning you for encounters you could not have stepped into if you hadn't been slowed down. What looks like delay is divine protection. What feels like silence is sacred preparation. Heaven is working behind the curtain of your confusion, scripting something miraculous that will make sense only in hindsight. You've walked through seasons of betrayal and disappointment, but God is saying, I was never absent. I was shaping you. Every storm, every loss, every tear was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal you. The world saw your weakness, but heaven saw your faith. Chosen one, it's time to rise again. The pause is ending. The word being released over you now is awaken. You are stepping into a chapter where clarity will replace confusion and peace will silence the inner chaos. What you thought was punishment is actually promotion in disguise. The world may not understand it, but heaven has always known who you are. You are a carrier of light in a generation drowning in noise. You are the message wrapped in flesh. And this very moment, is your confirmation that God has not changed his mind about you. So before this message ends, hear this truth echoing through eternity. Heaven pressed pause because your destiny couldn't risk being lost in distraction. And now that your heart is listening, God can move again. If this message reached your spirit, take a moment, don't scroll yet. Like, share, and subscribe so this word can reach more of the chosen ones scattered across the earth. And before you go, comment 777 below as a prophetic act, declaring, I am ready to hear you, Lord. Chosen one, you have been feeling it, haven't you? That stirring deep within your chest, the sudden waves of emotion that appear without warning, the sleepless nights where your thoughts won't rest. You cannot quite explain it to anyone, because what is happening inside you is not natural, it is spiritual. You have been sensing a shift, something unseen, something that calls your spirit to attention. The atmosphere around you has changed because heaven is moving, and your soul is beginning to respond. It's not anxiety. It's not confusion. It's divine awareness. You are picking up the frequency of heaven. What you've been feeling is the tension between the spiritual and the earthly realms, the push and pull between your calling and your comfort zone. That's why everything feels heavier lately, because you are standing in the middle of an invisible war. You've noticed how certain people have drifted away, how certain doors closed abruptly, how things that used to bring peace now bring restlessness. That's not random. When the spiritual climate around your destiny shifts, God begins to remove anything that can't survive in the new altitude He's calling you to. Your discomfort is not a curse, it's a signal. You are being awakened. The whisper in your soul, the restlessness in your spirit, the tears that come out of nowhere, those are heaven's alarms, calling you to pay attention. You are feeling the tremors of divine movement because you are part of heaven's strategy in this generation. You've asked God, why do I feel so much? Why do I sense things others don't? It's because you are spiritually sensitive, a watchman in the spirit. You were never meant to move through life numb or distracted. You were born to discern what others ignore. And so the warfare you've been experiencing isn't just about your emotions, it's about your awareness. The enemy doesn't fear those who attend church. He fears those who awaken. He fears those who recognize that their presence on earth is an extension of heaven's authority. You, chosen one, are one of those who carry the light that exposes hidden darkness. That's why the pressure feels unexplainable. Sometimes it feels like everyone around you is asleep, while you're the only one awake in a dark room. You sense danger when others laugh. You feel sorrow when others celebrate. You feel heaven's urgency while others chase the temporary. You're not broken, you're being burdened with revelation. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Your body might feel exhausted, but your spirit is awake. Heaven has been tugging at your heart, saying, "Stay aware. Don't drift back into comfort. You are not being punished. You are being positioned." The enemy's resistance is simply confirmation that you have crossed into new territory. Every attack you've faced recently, the confusion, the fatigue, the moments of discouragement are all signs that you're too close to destiny for the enemy to remain silent. When the unseen battle intensifies, it means something divine is near. That's why you've been feeling this spiritual weight. It's not meant to crush you, but to draw you closer to God. You've been asking for clarity, but clarity requires stillness. Heaven has been whispering, "Stop trying to figure everything out. Just trust me." You are not losing your mind. You are being rewired to hear more clearly. The trembling in your spirit is the sound of transformation. You're not the same person you were last year. The things that once entertained you now drain you. The people you once sought validation from no longer satisfy you. That's not loss, it's purification. God is separating what feeds your spirit from what starves it. You feel lonely, not because you're abandoned, but because heaven has pulled you into a higher place. The crowd doesn't understand this altitude. You're being trained in solitude, refined in silence, and strengthened through surrender. The battle around you is real, but so is the power within you. The Lord is teaching you to discern atmospheres, to see through deception, to sense danger before it appears. He is training you to walk with spiritual awareness, not emotional impulse. Every strange heaviness, every sudden stirring, it's not meaningless. It's part of your spiritual education. And soon, you'll realize what's been happening all along. You are not just feeling spiritual warfare, you are shifting it. The same sensitivity that makes you weep in private is the same sensitivity that empowers your prayers to move mountains. What once overwhelmed you will soon be the very thing that anoints you. So hold your peace. Chosen one, do not despise what you feel. Your awareness is your weapon. Your tears are your training. The more heaven awakens your spirit, the more unstoppable you become. You are not being undone, you are being unveiled. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is evidence that you belong to a kingdom that still moves in power. Stand firm, breathe deeply, and know this truth. What you feel is not fear, it is the vibration of destiny calling you higher. Chosen one, there is a battle that no one sees, a war that takes place behind your smile, within the silence of your thoughts. It is the fight between surrender and resistance, between faith and fear. You faced it in the quiet hours of the night, when the world sleeps but your mind refuses to. You've cried silently, telling no one, because you know that some pain cannot be explained, it can only be endured. There are moments when you appear calm on the outside, but inside your spirit trembles. You question, "Lord, why does it hurt this much when I'm trying so hard to stay faithful?" You feel like you've been carrying battles that others don't even notice. Yet this unseen fight, this private storm within you, is the very furnace that God uses to refine your heart. The truth is, chosen one, that the fiercest wars are fought in secret. It's not the storms outside that break you, it's the wars within, the thoughts that whisper, "You're not enough. You've failed too many times. God must be disappointed in you." These are not your thoughts. They are the fiery darts of doubt aimed at your calling. You have been under spiritual attack because your spirit carries weight in the kingdom. The more destiny you carry, the more warfare you face. Your tears have been prayers in disguise. Every sigh, every trembling breath, every silent breakdown has reached heaven's ears. God has not ignored your struggle. He has been shaping your strength. You are not losing your mind. You are being emptied of what cannot go with you into your next season. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 41, "The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." This battle between flesh and spirit is not new. Even Christ felt the agony of it in Gethsemane, when he cried, "If it be possible, let this cup pass from me." You, too, have had your Gethsemane moments, the nights when surrender felt impossible, when obedience felt like breaking. But listen, beloved, what breaks you in private is what crowns you in public. God uses the hidden struggle to produce visible glory. The tears you shed in secret are watering the seeds of purpose. You are not behind, you are being built. What looks like inner chaos is actually the foundation of divine strength being poured within you. Heaven does not waste pain. Every sleepless night becomes a testimony. Every wave of anxiety becomes a lesson in trust. And every breakdown becomes the soil for breakthrough. You have been misunderstood because no one else sees the battles that rage within you. You've smiled through exhaustion, served while bleeding, encouraged others while feeling empty yourself. Yet heaven saw it all. Every unseen act of endurance is recorded in eternity. You are not invisible to heaven. You are known, marked, and remembered. The silent war inside of you is holy ground. It is where your humanity meets divinity, where your weakness becomes a doorway for grace. God isn't asking you to be unshakable. He's asking you to be honest. To say, "Lord, I'm struggling, but I still trust you." That simple confession releases power in the unseen realm. The enemy wants you to hide your pain because he knows that hidden wounds can fester. But the moment you bring your pain to God, it loses its power over you. Cry if you must. Rest if you need to. But don't quit. You are not fighting alone. Heaven fights with you. When your thoughts spiral, remember the voice of condemnation never comes from God. He convicts to restore, not to destroy. He calls you higher, even in your lowest valley. The Spirit whispers, "You are still mine." Sometimes, God allows the inner war so that you can learn the language of His presence. When everything else feels loud, His still small voice becomes your compass. In that silence, you discover what truly matters: His peace, His promise, His power. Chosen one. Breathe. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being remade into something eternal. The war inside of you is not proof of failure. It's proof that your spirit refuses to die in darkness. You are still fighting because something inside you knows there is more. And there is. The light within you is not fragile, it's fire. It cannot be extinguished, only hidden until its time. And now, heaven is saying, It's time. The darkness you've been wrestling with is trembling because it knows your awakening is near. So, as you stand in the middle of this invisible war, lift your head. You are not losing, you are transforming. What you conquer within will become your authority without. The peace you fight for today will become the power you carry tomorrow. Now, as an act of agreement, type "I still stand." It may look like only 3 words, but in the spirit, it's a declaration of defiance against every lie that said you wouldn't make it. When you write it, you're telling heaven and hell alike, my spirit is still willing, and I refuse to bow to my weakness. Keep standing, chosen one. The silent battle is not your end, it is your becoming. Chosen one. Heaven has been watching you closer than you realize. Every tear that has fallen, every sigh that has escaped your lips, every moment you forced yourself to keep walking when your heart wanted to stop, has been seen and recorded. You may think no one noticed, but heaven never looked away. The silence you mistook for absence was actually divine observation. God has been watching, not with judgment, but with deep, unwavering compassion. There are times you've looked around and said, "Does anyone see what I'm going through?" You've served faithfully, loved deeply, given when you had almost nothing left, and still, it felt like no one acknowledged it. You wondered if your endurance was in vain. But hear this truth: every unnoticed act, every hidden obedience, every quiet yes in the dark has been written into heaven's records. God has seen the cost of your obedience, and He is preparing the reward. You are not unseen. You are being observed by the one who matters most. His eyes have never left you, the same eyes that saw Hagar in the desert, when she said, "You are the God who sees me," are fixed upon you now. You may have thought your wilderness was wasted, but it was the classroom where heaven learned your heart. The sacred text declares in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 9, "For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show Himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect toward Him." That means right now, as you breathe these words, heaven is searching hearts, and yours shines like a flame. You are not invisible to God. You are highlighted by His glory. Every time you chose forgiveness over revenge, compassion over pride, humility over recognition, you caught His attention. You may not have realized it, but your quiet endurance has been shaking the heavens. Every time you stood your ground in faith, angels took note. Every tear that fell was not wasted. It watered the soil of your future harvest. God has been keeping record of what others overlooked. He has seen the injustice, the rejection, the betrayal, the false accusations. But instead of responding with anger, you remained still. That stillness was worship. Heaven's gaze has never been distracted from your life. Even when you drifted, even when you doubted, even when you broke down, God was watching, not to condemn, but to protect. Like a father who watches his child learn to walk, He saw you stumble and smiled, knowing you would rise again. You've walked through seasons that tested everything inside you, times when you gave more than you had, loved people who didn't love you back, carried others while no one carried you. Heaven has seen it all. And though people may forget, heaven never does. Your hidden sacrifices echo in eternity. You might think the waiting has lasted too long. You might ask, when? God, When will it finally be my turn? But what feels like delay is often divine documentation. God doesn't just see your endurance, He measures it, counts it, stores it, and turns it into the currency of favor. There's a moment coming, chosen one, when all the unseen faithfulness will meet its divine unveiling. The same people who overlooked you will witness the glory that God was building in secret. What you sowed in tears will be reaped in joy. You've been hidden, not forgotten. Hidden, because what God has been shaping in you couldn't survive public exposure too soon. When heaven watches, it's never passive, it's purposeful. Every observation carries intention. God has been studying your faith to determine your next level of authority. He's been observing your response to pain, not to punish, but to promote. You are passing tests you didn't even know were happening. You've prayed for breakthrough, and heaven has been saying, "Not yet. My child, not until the foundation is ready." The longer you've waited, the deeper the roots have grown. The deeper the roots, the stronger the harvest. God sees your timeline, but He also sees your readiness. He watched when you chose to pray instead of panic. He watched when you showed grace instead of vengeance. He watched when you walked away from things that would have destroyed you. Those small decisions built the spiritual strength that heaven now honors. So even now, if you feel forgotten, lift your eyes. The gaze of God is fixed upon you. Every move you make in faith is seen. Every silent cry is heard. Every step forward in obedience is multiplied in eternity. Heaven has been watching, and heaven is preparing to respond. The same God who watched Daniel in the lion's den, who watched Joseph in the prison, who watched Ruth in the fields, is watching you in your waiting. And just as He lifted them, He will lift you, chosen one. Do not mistake heaven's silence for absence. The watching season always precedes the revealing season. You are closer than you think to divine recognition. Your faith has been seen, and heaven is about to move. Chosen one. There is something the Spirit wants to expose to you today, a subtle danger. Quiet, but deadly. It doesn't roar like a lion, it whispers like a song. It comes wrapped in beauty, framed in light, and disguised as peace. It is the enemy's counterfeit light. He doesn't always appear in darkness. Often, he comes shining, speaking what sounds holy, offering what looks harmless. And, unless your discernment is sharp, you could mistake deception for destiny. You've probably felt it before, the confusion that enters when something looks right but doesn't sit right. The offer that shines but steals your peace. The connection that feels thrilling but drains your spirit. That's how the enemy works. He mimics light. He crafts opportunities that appeal to your emotions, but not your assignment. He paints doors that glow, but lead to traps. Sometimes it's not sin that distracts you, it's imitation. The enemy can wrap distraction in purpose and call it favor. He can dress temptation in the costume of destiny and call it opportunity. That's why, in this season, you must guard your discernment more than your comfort. What glitters is not always gold. Sometimes it's bait. The apostle warned in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 14, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. Discernment is the eyes of your soul. Without it, you can mistake poison for honey. The enemy doesn't fear believers who shout. He fears believers who see. And you, chosen one, are being trained to see. You are learning to recognize the difference between what looks good and what carries God. Remember this: the devil never offers what you don't want. He studies your longings, your weaknesses, your history. He knows exactly what version of light will distract you. For Eve, it was knowledge. For Samson, beauty. For Judas, money. For you, it may be validation, comfort, or the need to be seen. Whatever it is, he'll package deception in the wrapping paper of your desire. So what do? You stay anchored. When something feels confusing, pause. Don't rush the yes. True light never pressures, it brings peace. Real alignment never causes panic, it confirms purpose. When God opens a door, it doesn't demand you to abandon your peace, to walk through it. Sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can say is no. Saying no is not rebellion when heaven whispers, "Not this one." You're not missing opportunities, you're avoiding traps. The spirit within you has already been scanning every path, every offer, every person around you. Trust that radar. Discernment is not suspicion, it's sensitivity. It doesn't judge people, it weighs spirits. When you walk closely with God, your perception becomes sharper. You start noticing that some smiles hide motives, some blessings carry burdens, some promises echo manipulation. And yet, instead of fear, you learn peace. Because when you walk in light, darkness can't deceive you for long. Beloved, this is why your isolation has been holy. God has been detoxing your discernment, cleansing your senses from false voices and counterfeit lights. You've wondered why you feel detached from certain circles or uneasy around familiar faces. It's because the light inside you began to expose what once blended in. Heaven is teaching you to listen beyond words, to feel truth in your spirit before your mind confirms it. And hear this clearly: not everything that leaves your life was a loss. Some departures were deliverance. Some rejections were redirections. You are not losing people or opportunities, you're shedding illusions. So guard your peace as you would a flame in the wind. Don't let imitation light drain your fire. When the Spirit tells you to wait, wait. When He tells you to release, release. His timing may frustrate your emotions, but it will always protect your soul. And as you walk through this season of purification, remember this truth: you're not being punished for your discernment, you're being promoted because of it. The clearer your sight, the greater your assignment. Now, before this message fades into the scroll of 1,000 other voices, let me speak from the heart. If these words have stirred something in you, don't let the fire die here. When you share the light, it multiplies. When you sow into light, you silence imitation. If you feel led, like, share, and subscribe, not as routine, but as partnership. You're helping this message reach someone standing at the edge of deception. And if God places it in your heart, consider giving a seed, an offering, a gesture of alignment, not out of pressure, but out of gratitude for what the light has revealed. You are not funding a voice, you are fueling a mission. Every act of generosity turns into oil for the next flame, the next soul awakened. Your discernment is your protection, but your generosity is your declaration: I choose real light. Stay wise, stay grounded, stay glowing. Heaven is proud of how far your sight has come. Chosen one, What you are walking through right now is not punishment, it is refinement. Heaven has not turned its back on you. It has turned up the fire to purify what was never meant to stay. You have mistaken breaking for rejection. But God calls it reshaping. What looks like loss is often divine correction dressed in pain. Every pressure, every delay, every unexpected ending, it is heaven molding you, chiseling away what cannot survive your next level. You've said, "Lord, why does it feel like everything I touch falls apart?" And the whisper from heaven answers, "Because I'm teaching your hands to build differently. You are not cursed, you are being carved. The potter is not angry, he is focused. You are clay in his hands. And the shaping feels like breaking only because the clay cannot yet see the design. The process hurts because it's precise. God is removing things that once fit but now limit you. You've outgrown environments, relationships, and even versions of yourself. The pressure you feel is heaven stretching you for the next dimension. The discomfort is not random, it's redirection. The refining process is heaven's way of separating the valuable from the temporary. You've been asking for clarity, for open doors, for purpose, and God is answering. But not in the way you expected. He is not adding, he is subtracting. He is removing the noise so you can hear his voice again. It is written in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the Levites and refine them like gold and silver." Do you see it? God doesn't stand over the fire, he sits beside it. That means he stays close. The refiner never leaves the furnace unattended because he knows the exact moment when the silver shines brightest. He doesn't remove you from the flame too soon, or you'd remain impure. He doesn't leave you in too long, or you'd be destroyed. He watches, waits, and works until your reflection mirrors his own. That's what this season is about. Heaven wants to see itself in you. You've been asking for more anointing, more wisdom, more power, but greater oil requires greater crushing. The fragrance of your calling is released only through pressure. The broken alabaster was the gateway to worship. Your brokenness is not a flaw, it's a fragrance. And while it feels like everything is falling apart, in truth, everything is falling into place. The shaking you're feeling is not destruction, it's divine rearrangement. God is removing every counterfeit foundation you built in haste so that he can rebuild with eternal strength. Chosen one, you've been in the fire long enough to know that the same flames that burn also reveal. You've learned who truly stands with you. You've seen who disappears when the heat rises. That's the gift of refinement. It reveals truth. Fire never lies. It exposes. It's not easy, but it's necessary. The purity of your calling depends on the heat of your surrender. When you stop fighting the process, you'll start finding the purpose. Every moment you thought you were being buried, you were really being planted. Every season that felt like loss was actually the seed of something holy. There are people who left your life who couldn't handle your refining season. They were comfortable with your past, but not ready for your glow. God didn't remove them to hurt you. He removed them to protect your future. Some things can only live in darkness. Your light would have exposed them too soon. You've cried, "Why me?" And heaven answers, "Because I can trust you with the fire." The refining is proof of selection. God only polishes what he plans to display. Your process is not punishment, it's preparation for promotion. The hardest part is not surviving the fire. It's understanding that God's silence in the furnace is not neglect, it's concentration. When a craftsman refines silver, he doesn't speak, he studies. Heaven's silence means focus. The refiner is watching you closely, shaping your heart, adjusting your timing, purging your motives. So don't resist the flames, rest in them. When you feel abandoned, remember, He is seated beside you. When you feel undone, whisper, I trust you. The very heat that scares you is the same fire that will make you shine. You're almost through the refining. Soon, what once burned will begin to bless. What once scarred will start to shine. You will emerge without the smell of smoke, purified, radiant, unshakable, chosen one. When you rise from this fire, you will carry wisdom beyond your years, strength beyond your past, and peace beyond understanding. You are not being punished. You are being prepared to carry glory. Now, if this word resonates in your spirit, seal it in faith. Type 888 below. It's not just a number, it's a symbol of new beginnings, of cycles ending and divine renewal beginning. When you write it, you're declaring, refine me, Lord, until only you remain. Your fire is not your failure, it's your forging. Stay in the process. Heaven is still working. Chosen one. This is the moment of divine confrontation, the place where heaven stands face to face with your hesitation. You've come too far to stay silent, and too close to turn back. This is where your destiny stops waiting for permission and starts demanding obedience. The Spirit has been circling your heart for days, maybe even months, whispering the same truth over and over, choose me fully, or not at all. You feel the pull inside the war between what is comfortable and what is commanded. You know this isn't just another season, it's a spiritual crossroads. You can sense it in the atmosphere around you. The familiar no longer fits, but the future still feels frightening. You've been standing between two worlds, one of safety, one of surrender. But heaven won't let you linger there forever. Divine confrontation means decision. Heaven is waiting for your yes. When God calls you higher, He confronts everything that holds you low. That's why things have been surfacing lately, the old habits, the secret fears, the memories you thought were buried. God isn't exposing you to shame you. He's confronting you to free you. He's saying, this can't go with you where I'm taking you. You've been praying for open doors, but heaven is asking for open hands. You can't receive what's next if you're still clinging to what was. The delay you've felt isn't punishment, it's a pause, waiting for your surrender. Heaven is patient, but purpose is urgent. There comes a time when mercy steps forward and says, now decide. It was declared through the voice of Joshua in the sacred text of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 15. Choose this day whom you will serve. That scripture is not just history, it's prophecy. It's speaking to you now. You can't walk in destiny halfway. The middle ground between obedience and rebellion is the birthplace of confusion. That's why your peace has been inconsistent. You've been trying to carry both God's calling and your comfort. But the altar and the throne cannot share the same space in your heart. When God calls you to obey, He doesn't negotiate, He transforms. The confrontation of heaven is not anger, it's invitation. It's the Father saying, I want to trust you with more. but I cannot build on divided loyalty. He is not trying to take something from you. He's trying to protect what he's placed in you. Look around you. Everything that once satisfied now feels empty. Every path that once looked open now seems blocked. That's not coincidence, it's divine redirection. God is closing doors not because he's cruel, but because he's committed to your calling. He knows if you keep walking down paths built by compromise, your light will dim before your purpose shines. This moment right now is holy. The air around you is charged with decision. You can feel it, the trembling in your spirit, the tightening in your chest. That's not anxiety, it's conviction. Heaven is confronting the very part of you that keeps delaying obedience, not to punish you, but to awaken you. Because delayed obedience is still disobedience. There's a version of you that exists on the other side of surrender, a stronger, freer, more focused version. But to meet that version, the current one must die. That's the essence of divine confrontation. Resurrection always requires a death. Something in you has to end for something greater to begin. Maybe it's the fear of failure. Maybe it's the approval of people. Maybe it's the habit of compromise. Whatever it is, heaven is saying, lay it down. Every idol must fall before the glory can rise. Every attachment that rivals his will must burn before your destiny can bloom. And yes, it will hurt. Obedience always costs something, but disobedience costs everything. The pain of surrender is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Heaven is not confronting you to shame you, it's doing so to shape you into the vessel you were always meant to be. Remember this. Chosen one, God never confronts what he does not intend to heal. The exposure of your weakness is the invitation for his strength. The very area you feel unworthy in is the area he wants to redeem. You are not disqualified, you are being refined. This confrontation is not rejection, it's revelation. Heaven is revealing what's been standing between you and freedom. So don't resist this holy moment. Stand still in it. Let the weight of his presence break the chains of hesitation. Don't run back to comfort when conviction calls. What feels like breaking is the beginning of becoming. The hour of decision has come. You are no longer who you were, and you cannot remain where you are. This moment is heaven's mirror, reflecting your future back to you. The only question that remains is, will you say yes? Heaven leans close, waiting for your answer. Chosen one, there is a force that has been shadowing your steps. A subtle chain designed not to destroy you outright, but to delay you. It's the unseen thief of momentum, the spirit of delay. You felt it without having a name for it, the constant waiting without progress. The cycles that repeat. The promises that always seem almost, but never now. It's that invisible resistance that makes you feel like you're running but never arriving. Building but never finishing. Believing but rarely seeing. Heaven wants you to see it clearly today, because exposure is the first step toward deliverance. The spirit of delay doesn't announce itself, it disguises as bad timing, as just life, as I'll start tomorrow. But in the spirit realm, it is a real resistance, a fog that slows the chosen ones who carry urgent assignments. It's not coincidence that every time you get close to breakthrough, something interrupts. Every time peace comes, a storm follows. Every time you take 2 steps forward, something drags you 3 steps back. This is not just life's rhythm, it's warfare. The enemy knows he can't steal your calling, so he tries to stall it. If he can't destroy your destiny, He'll distract it until it expires in delay. His greatest weapon against the chosen is not destruction, it's postponement. Because every delay that isn't broken turns destiny into memory. But here's the truth. Beloved, what you call delay, heaven sometimes calls testing. Because before God releases acceleration, He examines readiness. There are delays of warfare, and there are delays of wisdom. Discernment is what teaches you the difference. The spirit of delay attacks through distraction, discouragement, and doubt, while divine delay refines your patience, character, and focus. Both look similar on the surface, but one drains your spirit while the other deepens it. The ancient prophet wrote in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "The vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." That verse holds your key. Not every delay is demonic, but every delay must be discerned. God allows time to test truth. If what you're waiting for is divine, it will not die in delay, it will mature. You are not waiting for time, time is waiting for your transformation. Yet there is also a time when you must confront the spirit that keeps stealing your momentum. Look at your patterns. Chosen one, how many times have you been on the edge of something new? Peace, purpose, obedience, and something invisible held you back. How many times have you said, "I'll start next week," while heaven whispered, "Now"? The spirit of delay feeds on hesitation. It thrives when you doubt your readiness, when you convince yourself that obedience can wait. But delay is the language of lost destinies. When heaven gives an instruction, the moment you hesitate, the enemy infiltrates. You cannot afford to keep postponing the call of God. Every unfinished project, every neglected dream, every abandoned idea that once burned in your spirit, those were seeds heaven gave you. But delay caused them to wither. It's time to reclaim them. Go back to the notebooks. The plans, the prayers, the promises haven't expired, only your focus did. But the mercy of God is breathing on them again. Delay also disguises itself as comfort. It whispers, "Rest a little longer." When rest becomes procrastination, it convinces you that you need one more sign, one more confirmation, one more open door when all you truly need is courage. The enemy doesn't fear your gift, he fears your action. He knows potential that never manifests poses no threat to darkness. Beloved, heaven is calling you out of the waiting room. It's time to confront what's been silently stealing your seasons. The longer you negotiate with obedience, the longer delay reigns. You don't need more time, you need more trust. God has already gone before you. The doors you're afraid of walking through are already unlocked. The key has always been your yes. There's a rhythm in the spirit that moves with obedience. When you move, heaven moves. But when you wait for perfect conditions, you halt divine motion. Nothing changes until you act. The miracle you're praying for is often hidden in the moment you finally decide to stop waiting. The spirit of delay will whisper, "You're not ready." Heaven answers, "You're being refined as you go." It will whisper, "You've missed your chance." Heaven replies, "My timing redeems." You are never too late when you walk in obedience, but you can remain late if you keep postponing surrender. So, take this word deep into your heart. The time is now. The vision is not dead. The dream is not gone. The purpose still waits. not in tomorrow, but in today. The spirit of delay has no power over those who decide to move in faith. You have waited long enough. Step out of hesitation and into holy motion. Heaven has already gone ahead of you. Chosen one. Can you feel the weight in the air, the quiet stillness before something shifts? That is not coincidence. It is mercy, knocking one last time. There comes a moment when heaven stops whispering softly and begins to call with urgency. That moment is now. You have felt it, the tug in your heart, the discomfort in your spirit, the sense that something sacred is drawing near. Heaven is saying, this is mercy's final knock. For too long, you've been standing between conviction and compromise. You've promised, I'll change soon, while heaven has been saying, now. You've heard the voice, felt the nudge, seen the signs, but hesitation has become a habit. Yet mercy has remained patient, waiting outside the door of your heart, knocking again and again. Still, mercy doesn't knock forever. There's a sobering truth that every chosen one must face. God's patience is eternal in nature, but his opportunities are not. There are doors that, once closed, cannot be reopened. Moments that, once missed, will not return the same way again. Mercy keeps extending her hand, but grace will not drag you where obedience refuses to go. Heaven is not angry with you, it is pleading for you. This message is not to condemn, but to awaken. Mercy doesn't come to shame you, it comes to save you from what's ahead if you continue ignoring the call. You may not realize it, but there's a divine clock ticking, counting moments of mercy that were never meant to last forever. You've been sensing it already. The silence that once felt peaceful now feels heavy. The distractions that used to comfort you now drain you. The same places that once brought excitement now feel hollow. That's not depression, it's divine discomfort. Heaven is shaking your nest, not to harm you, but to push you toward your destiny. Mercy has been protecting you from what you didn't see. There were traps ahead that grace quietly cancelled. There were paths that looked right, but would have led to destruction. Mercy intercepted them all. But even mercy has a moment when it must step back and let consequence teach what warnings could not. Heaven is saying, don't let it come to that. It is written in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 3, verse 15, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. That word today is heaven's emphasis. Not tomorrow, not next month, today. Because every delay weakens discernment. Every ignored conviction silences the voice that once guided you. If you continue to resist, eventually you won't even feel the pull anymore. That is the danger of delay. It numbs what was once tender. You might say, but God knows my heart. Yes, he does, and that's exactly why he's confronting you now. He knows how easily the heart can justify rebellion, how quickly good intentions turn into excuses. He's not asking for your perfection, he's asking for your surrender, because surrender keeps mercy close. There are moments in life when God gives gentle reminders. Then there are moments when he gives final warnings. This is one of those. Not because he wants to frighten you, but because he loves you too much to let you drift into spiritual blindness. The greatest judgment God can give a person is not wrath, it's withdrawal. When he stops convicting, stops correcting, stops calling, it means he's allowed your choices to lead their natural course. But if you're reading this, it means mercy is still knocking. Don't mistake God's silence for approval. Sometimes heaven grows quiet to see if you'll still choose Him without the goosebumps, without the music, without the emotional highs. Obedience built on feeling will fade. Obedience built on faith will last. Beloved, the time has come to respond. Heaven is waiting for your answer, not your perfect prayer, not your eloquent promises, just your honest yes. Mercy isn't asking for a speech, only for surrender. You are being given a holy chance to realign your heart. Everything that once felt broken can still be rebuilt. Every failure that shamed you can still be redeemed. Grace has not run out, but it is running on time. Don't let the seconds of mercy slip through your fingers while you think you have eternity to decide. The spiritual realm is watching your choice. Angels are holding their breath. The Father is leaning close. Mercy's knock echoes through the corridors of your soul one more time. Will you answer? This is not a moment to debate, but to decide. Heaven has cleared the noise for you to hear this one invitation. The door of mercy is open, but it will not stay open forever. If your spirit feels that holy trembling right now, that's the sign. Don't silence it. Don't scroll past it. Don't rationalize it away. Mercy is not demanding perfection, it's pleading for response. And if your heart recognizes this divine moment, write these words below as your declaration, I hear you. 3 words, simple, but sacred. When you type them, you are doing more than commenting. You are answering heaven's call. You're declaring, I still feel you. I still hear you. And I will not ignore you again. Let your heart respond before your mind resists. Mercy is still knocking. The handle is in your hands. Chosen one. Heaven wants to remind you of something powerful. Today your name carries weight in heaven. You may walk unnoticed on earth, but in the courts of eternity, your name echoes with purpose. The world might overlook you, but angels recognize your sound. You are not anonymous in the spirit. You are identified, marked, and known. When you wake up in the morning, darkness takes attendance. Hell trembles because your name has authority it cannot silence. You carry a light that cannot be hidden, a voice that shifts atmospheres, a presence that carries heaven's signature. That's why the battles have been fierce, because your identity intimidates what once bound you. You've wondered, why does it seem like I go through more than others? It's because heaven has placed weight on your life. The heavier the call, the stronger the resistance. You carry assignments that require endurance. And the pressure you've been under is proof of your purpose. When heaven crafted you, it spoke purpose into your DNA. Every struggle, every scar, every chapter of your story carries spiritual resonance. Even your pain has been training your authority. What others see as weakness, heaven calls preparation. There were nights when your tears wrote scriptures across the unseen sky. Heaven read every one of them as worship, not sorrow. Those moments became part of your design, the evidence that your faith did not collapse under fire. The universe remembers the sound of your endurance and still echoes it. Your wounds are not wasted ink, they are living testimonies etched into eternity. They tell the story of resilience, of a soul that refused to surrender to darkness. God turned your breaking into beauty and your silence into song. What felt like endings were really chapters of rebirth. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, Verse 10, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. That word isn't reserved for ancient times. It is a living truth for you. Before the world saw you, heaven already ordained you. Before you made your first mistake, God had already planned your redemption. You are not defined by where you've been, but by where heaven is sending you. Your name is not just a label, it's a declaration. In the spirit realm, names carry assignments. Abram became Abraham. Sarai became Sarah. Saul became Paul, all because heaven changed what earth called them. And you, too, are in a season of divine renaming. Heaven is rewriting your identity from broken to beloved, from forgotten to favored, from used to chosen. You've carried names that weren't yours: rejection, failure, disappointment. People labeled you based on your wounds, but heaven calls you by your purpose. When God says your name, every false label falls away. The same lips that spoke galaxies into existence now whisper your name with tenderness and authority. In heaven's archives, your name is not written in pencil, it's engraved in glory. Every act of obedience, every silent prayer, every tear has been recorded. Angels move at the mention of your name because it's tied to an assignment only you can fulfill. You're not replaceable, you're irreplaceable. And though you may feel small, your obedience has ripple effects across eternity. Every time you choose forgiveness over anger, heaven moves. Every time you speak life instead of gossip, heaven records it as victory. You have been impacting realms you can't even see. When you worship, light is released. When you pray, strongholds weaken. When you walk in love, the fragrance of heaven fills the earth. You are heaven's ambassador, wearing human skin. That's the power of being known by God. But remember, carrying this weight also means carrying responsibility. The more heaven trusts you, the more carefully it shapes you. The trials you face are not punishments, they're refinements. You're being trusted with authority that requires purity. You are a vessel of influence, even if no one applauds you. The audience that matters has always been watching. You don't need a stage to shake nations, you just need alignment. A whisper from a pure heart reaches further in the spirit than a shout from an unyielded one. Beloved, this truth should humble you, not inflate you. To be known by heaven is to live with reverence, to move with intentionality, to love without condition, to serve without seeking recognition. The mark of the chosen is not fame, it's faithfulness. When heaven calls your name, it's not asking for perfection, it's asking for willingness. Every yes you've whispered in private is building something eternal. Heaven doesn't forget those who keep showing up, even when no one notices. And if this word touches your spirit, if it reminds you of who you really are, then help that same truth reach someone else who has forgotten their name in God. Like, share, and subscribe, not for vanity, but for victory. When you share light, you multiply it. When you sow into truth, you extend mercy's reach. If you feel led, consider giving whatever small act of generosity God places in your heart. Think of it like adding oil to a lantern. Every drop keeps the flame alive, lighting the path for another soul wandering in darkness. You're not giving to a person, you're giving to purpose. Each act of kindness, every seed of support, keeps this voice alive, so that heaven's reminders can find more hearts like yours. You've been lifted by these words, now you can lift others. The light that found you deserves to keep traveling. Chosen one, never forget, your name carries eternal resonance. Speak it with courage, live it with humility, and protect it with obedience. Because heaven doesn't just know you, it believes in you. Chosen one, you have entered a season where heaven is not merely blessing you, it is testing your obedience. When heaven tests, it is not to discover your weakness, it is to strengthen your loyalty. God already knows what is in your heart, but He wants you to see it for yourself. There is a sacred kind of silence that falls before promotion, and you, beloved, are standing in it right now. You've been asking, God, why have you gone quiet? Yet silence is not abandonment, it's examination. The teacher always stays silent during the test, not because he has left, but because he wants you to use what he already taught. The season you're in is not punishment, it's the proving ground of faith. Obedience is not measured in how loudly you shout your devotion, it's revealed in how quietly you walk in it. Heaven is watching not how well you start, but how steadfastly you continue. God is not impressed by speed, He values consistency. That's why some of your prayers seem unanswered. Heaven is asking, will you still obey when the spotlight fades? Will you still believe when the promise tarries? You see, chosen one, anyone can worship when miracles are visible. True obedience is tested in the dark, when nothing makes sense, and yet your spirit still whispers, yes, Lord. That kind of faith shakes kingdoms. That kind of obedience opens invisible gates. It's easy to trust when you see results, but the anointing you carry is being shaped through unseen faithfulness. You are not being ignored, you are being refined. Heaven has been silent because it's giving you room to grow. Sometimes God steps back not to distance Himself, but to allow your roots to reach deeper. The deeper the root, the greater the fruit. Faith without depth collapses under weight, and you have been called to carry something heavy, something eternal. According to the writings in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him. The silence you're facing is not rejection, it's preparation. God hides His face only long enough to strengthen your hearing. When you can't see Him, you learn to recognize His voice. When the visible fades, the invisible becomes sharper. This is how He teaches you maturity through the soundless classroom of trust. There are nights when you will pray and feel nothing, worship and hear nothing, serve and see nothing, and yet those are the most powerful moments of your faith. Because when you choose obedience without emotional reward, you are demonstrating love without condition. Heaven calls that pure devotion. Remember Abraham, standing on the mountain with Isaac. He didn't understand, but he obeyed. The knife never fell because his heart had already surrendered. That's the kind of obedience God is drawing out of you, the obedience that trusts even when the outcome is unclear. Every test has a threshold. The moment before breakthrough often feels unbearable because it's the point where your old faith breaks, so new faith can be born. God is stripping away dependence on feelings, miracles, or signs so that you can learn the power of quiet trust. You will know you've matured when silence no longer scares you, but stabilizes you. Chosen one, This season of testing is not about what you lose, it's about what you gain: endurance, discernment, peace. You're learning to worship without needing rescue, to serve without needing applause, to trust without needing proof. You are becoming unshakable. Sometimes obedience looks like staying still when everything inside you wants to run. Sometimes it looks like walking away from something that still feels good. And sometimes it looks like holding on when logic says to let go. Each act of surrender builds a fortress of faith inside your soul. You've cried, "God, I'm tired," and heaven answers. That's where strength begins. The crown of life mentioned in Scripture is not a decoration, it's authority born from endurance. Every tear you've shed during this silence has been counted, and every act of faith will be rewarded. What you must remember is this: obedience always precedes revelation. When you move in faith, heaven moves in clarity. When you stay still in fear, confusion grows. The choice before you is not about survival, it's about trust. Will you keep walking, even when you don't know where the path leads? You may not realize it, but you are already passing tests that once broke you. The patience you now carry, the peace you've learned to guard, the forgiveness you've extended, all these are fruits of obedience. Heaven sees what no one else applauds. When this season ends, and it will end, you'll understand why the silence lasted so long. God was never testing your strength, He was testing your surrender. You'll step out of this with deeper authority, quieter confidence, and unshakable faith. You will speak, and your words will carry weight, because they were forged in stillness. So hold steady. Chosen one, the test is not forever. The silence is not punishment. The stillness is not abandonment. Heaven is simply measuring your maturity. And when the moment comes, when the test is complete, the crown will not just be a reward, it will be a reflection of who you've become. Chosen one, something sacred is stirring again. You can feel it, can't you? The quiet shift in the air, the gentle trembling of your spirit. It's the signal of alignment. Heaven is drawing near to bring you into a moment of prophetic surrender. This is not an ordinary message. This is a divine invitation. For some time now, God has been calling you to a deeper level of obedience. But this moment is different. This is where heaven asks you not just to listen, but to respond. Every delay, every test, every silence has been leading here. You are standing on holy ground where surrender becomes power. Heaven does not move in noise, it moves in response. And right now, heaven is waiting for yours. The Spirit of God is whispering, it's time. Time to release the weight you've carried. Time to stop trying to control what only surrender can heal. Time to step into your divine rhythm again. You've been holding on to things that feel safe but keep you stuck: old fears, familiar patterns, the need to understand everything before you move. But the truth is, surrender is rarely logical. It is spiritual trust expressed through earthly obedience. As Jesus himself prayed in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, verse 42, "Not my will, but yours be done." Those words are not weak, they are the strongest declaration any soul can make. They turn battles into breakthroughs and pain into purpose. That single sentence transformed a night of agony into the dawn of salvation. It is the model for your moment right now. You may ask, but how do I surrender when my heart is still afraid? The answer: by deciding that fear no longer has authority. Surrender is not a feeling, it's a choice. It's saying, even if I don't understand, I'll still obey. Even if I'm trembling, I'll still trust. That is the kind of faith that moves heaven. You have come through seasons where control felt like survival, but the same walls that protected you have now become prisons. God is asking you to open the door, not because He wants to expose you, but because He wants to free you. The miracle you're waiting for is on the other side of release. When you let go, heaven steps in. When you stop striving, grace starts building. The plans you thought were falling apart were actually falling into place. The moment you surrender, what was heavy becomes holy. The storm loses its authority when the sailor finally drops the oars and says, "Lead me, Lord." Surrender is not the end of your strength, it's the beginning of His. Heaven does not demand perfection, it desires permission. When you give God permission to take the lead, the impossible becomes inevitable. There's a reason this message found you right now. It's not random. The Spirit has been preparing your heart for this exact alignment. Heaven waited until your spirit was tired enough of carrying, wise enough to listen, and humble enough to yield. This is the moment where something shifts forever. When Jesus surrendered in the garden, heaven opened the path for resurrection. The pain didn't disappear immediately, but purpose entered the scene. That's what happens when you surrender. The weight doesn't vanish, but it transforms into wings. What once crushed you will soon carry you. So here's what heaven is asking of you: not to explain, not to predict, not to control, but to yield. The very thing you've been resisting is the key that unlocks the next chapter. When you say, "Not my will," heaven hears, "I'm ready." Your spirit already knows this truth. You can feel it pulsing inside. Every shaking, every closed door, every divine delay was heaven positioning you here. You are standing at the threshold of transformation, and your next step will echo in eternity. Let this moment be your prophetic act. Don't scroll past it. Stand still in it. Heaven is watching, waiting for your yes. This is not a performance, it's a covenant. When you respond, something ancient in the spirit world begins to move. Chosen one, if this message has awakened that holy surrender inside you, seal it in faith right now. Comment 555 below. This number represents divine grace and transformation, the complete renewal of your being. When you type it, you're not just writing digits, you're declaring, "I release control. I surrender to divine order. I align with heaven's will." Let it be your whisper of obedience, your echo of Jesus' words, your signature on heaven's covenant. You're not typing as a viewer, you're responding as a vessel. The world will try to make surrender look like weakness, but heaven knows better. It is the key to power. You are stepping into freedom, not failure, into flow, not fear, into destiny, not delay. Breathe now. The struggle you've been holding is melting. The weight you've carried is lifting. Heaven has heard your yes. You have aligned your will with divine purpose, and the atmosphere around you is shifting to match. This is not the end. Chosen one, this is the moment your spirit finally exhaled and said, "I trust you." Heaven smiles. The battle quiets. Grace takes over. Chosen one, something magnificent is beginning to rise. What once looked like ruins is turning into the foundation of a great awakening. You can sense it, can't you? The stillness that once felt like silence now feels charged with expectation. The wind of change is moving, not the destructive wind that scatters, but the holy wind that gathers. Heaven is summoning its remnant, and you are one of them. The remnant is not defined by number but by nature. They are the ones who refused to bow when others broke, the ones who walked through fire and came out fragrant with faith, the ones who didn't fit in because they were never meant to. You have always been different, not by accident, but by design. Your difference is your divine signature. You thought your isolation was punishment, but it was incubation. While others ran ahead in noise, heaven was cultivating you in quiet. The field that looks forgotten is often the one where the rarest seeds are planted. You were hidden so that when you finally emerged, you wouldn't look like the world, you'd look like heaven. There's a shaking happening in the spirit. Everything false is crumbling. Everything shallow is being exposed. And everything real is rising. This is not chaos, it's cleansing. The noise you see in the world is the sound of heaven separating the genuine from the imitation. The stage is being cleared for the remnant to stand. And you, chosen one, are part of that rising. You were never called to blend in with crowds. You were created to carry fire. The anointing upon your life isn't for performance. It's for purification. Your voice is not for popularity. It's for awakening. You are the trumpet sound in a generation addicted to silence. Your pain was the initiation. Your rejection was the recognition. Your wilderness was your workshop. Heaven never wastes suffering. Every tear has become oil. Every loss has become revelation. What you thought was destroying you was actually teaching you how to carry the weight of revival without collapsing under it. As written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Those words are not just poetic, they are prophetic. They are being spoken over you right now. The light is not coming from outside, it's breaking forth from within. The glory that has been hidden in you is awakening. You are not waiting for revival, you are revival. But understand, this revival does not begin in stadiums, it begins in surrendered hearts. It's not marked by applause, but by tears. Before heaven ignites nations, it always ignites individuals. You have been chosen as a spark, and once a spark catches flame, no darkness can put it out. This awakening won't look like what the world expects. It won't come with spectacle, it will come with substance. It will be carried by ordinary people with extraordinary obedience. By voices like yours, hearts like yours, wounded, humbled, but burning. You are part of a lineage of revivalists. Though your platform may look like a kitchen, a classroom, a quiet prayer room, heaven doesn't measure reach by followers, it measures it by faithfulness. The remnant doesn't seek attention, they seek alignment. They move in silence, but the earth feels their footsteps. The enemy thought he silenced you when he isolated you. He thought the wounds would keep you quiet, but all he did was push you deeper into the presence of God. You have become dangerous now because you have learned to pray when no one's watching. You have learned to hear heaven without the noise of the crowd. This is the power of the remnant. They don't need recognition to carry revelation. They don't need permission to be powerful. Their authority comes not from applause, but from intimacy. That's why God trusted you with pain. It produced purity. You've survived what others couldn't. You've kept your heart soft when it should have turned cold. You've stayed standing when the storm tried to bury you. Heaven calls that endurance holy. That's the mark of the remnant. And now, heaven is breathing on you again. You may feel the trembling in your chest, that stirring of purpose waking from its sleep. That's not anxiety, it's activation. The Spirit is awakening your gifts, reviving your boldness, and releasing your voice for this hour. You don't need to chase the spotlight. The light inside you is enough. Wherever you go, atmospheres will shift. When you speak, heaviness will lift. When you pray, chains will break. Because the remnant doesn't just survive, they transform every space they enter. Chosen one. The world doesn't need another echo, it needs your original sound. The sound of faith forged in suffering, of love that outlasts betrayal, of fire that refuses to die. The awakening is not coming to you, it's coming through you. So rise, remnant of light. Step forward with quiet confidence. You are not just part of history, you are part of heaven's unfolding story. What began in your breaking will end in your burning. And when the world grows darker, remember, your glow is not fading, it's focusing. You are not waiting for permission to shine. Heaven has already said, arise. Chosen one. You may not yet realize the magnitude of what your life represents, but in the unseen realms, your very existence is warfare. You are heaven's disruptor, one of those rare souls God sends into generations to shake sleeping systems and expose what darkness tried to hide. You were never meant to fit comfortably into patterns that keep others numb. You were built to disturb the atmosphere, to make the invisible tremble simply by standing in truth. From the moment you entered this world, the spiritual climate around you shifted. The resistance you've faced since birth was not random, it was recognition. Hell recognized what heaven had released. Every attack, every misunderstanding, every strange opposition has been confirmation of your identity. The enemy does not waste energy on those who pose no threat. That is why your journey has been turbulent. Wherever you go, things seem to stir, people feel convicted, tension rises, truths come to the surface. It's not that you are doing anything wrong, it's that you carry an authority that reveals what others try to conceal. You bring exposure, you bring awakening. The presence of the chosen always disturbs complacency. It's a lonely assignment sometimes. There are days you wish you could silence your discernment, dim your light, blend in just to feel normal. But deep inside, you know that's impossible. Light cannot pretend to be darkness. You were born to confront what others avoid. You were given spiritual eyes to see what others deny. Heaven trusts you with revelation because you have proven that you will not run from it. You've endured seasons where your insight made you the outcast. You've spoken truth only to be met with silence or rejection. But every time you stood firm, you sharpened your edge. You became a sword forged in secret. As declared in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. That verse is not just comfort, it is strategy. The weapons formed against you are evidence of your assignment. They may form, but they cannot function without permission. You walk under the jurisdiction of divine protection. The accusations, the misunderstandings, the betrayals, they are noise, not narrative. Heaven decides your outcome. Understand this. Beloved, being a disruptor does not mean being harsh or proud. It means being so aligned with truth that lies crumble in your presence. It means walking in humility while carrying holy boldness. You were designed to challenge atmospheres, not people. The true battlefield is spiritual, not personal. When you speak, principalities flinch. You've wondered why some relationships collapse the moment you step in. It's because light and shadow cannot coexist peacefully. Your presence exposes motives, not intentionally, but naturally. Some people feel uneasy around you because your purity reveals their pretenses. Don't apologize for that. It's your mantle at work. The world teaches peace through silence, but heaven teaches peace through authority. You are the kind of peace that doesn't ignore darkness but dissolves it. Your love confronts. Your mercy convicts. That's what makes you a disruptor, not your anger, but your authenticity. Every time you intercede, regions shift. Every time you forgive, curses break. Every time you speak life, decay reverses. You are a spiritual earthquake disguised as a human being. God planted you in this generation as a divine interruption to the plans of darkness. But remember, the disruptor must remain anchored. Power without presence becomes pride. That's why God keeps drawing you back into prayer, back into solitude, back into stillness. You are being trained to handle influence without losing innocence. Heaven is teaching you to roar from a place of rest. There will be moments when your fire is misunderstood. People may call it too much, too intense, too different. But that is the nature of divine fire. It cannot be measured by human comfort. Your role is not to please crowds, it is to pierce clouds. When you walk into rooms, atmospheres will shift before words are spoken. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is the Spirit breathing through you. That power is not for performance, it's for transformation. You are an ambassador of awakening, a living contradiction to darkness. Wherever you go, light travels. Chosen one. You are not random, you are recruited. You carry the sound of revival, the scent of purity, the flame of holy disruption. Every step you take reminds hell that light is still advancing. So walk boldly, even when misunderstood. You are not here to entertain, you are here to enlighten. The storms around you are not signs of failure, they are signs of function. Lightning always follows the storm bringer. The world may not thank you for what you expose, but heaven celebrates every shift your presence brings. You are heaven's disruptor, steady, sacred, unstoppable, chosen one. You have come so far through fire, through silence, through the hidden seasons when no one saw your endurance but heaven did. This is not the time to turn back. This is the time to commit. Heaven is calling you to stand firm, to plant your feet in purpose, to let your yes be loud enough for eternity to hear. Commitment is not about feelings, it's about foundation. Feelings shift like waves, but commitment anchors you when the tide turns. The storms of life were never meant to drown you, they were meant to reveal how deeply your roots run. A tree doesn't survive because it avoids the wind, but because it learned to sway without snapping. And you, chosen one, have learned to bend but not break. Heaven has watched you weather tempests that should have uprooted you. Yet here you stand, scarred but stronger, weary but wiser. You didn't just survive, you stayed. That's what separates the called from the chosen: endurance. Still, Heaven whispers, "Don't grow weary in doing good," because weariness is the enemy of commitment. It's not the loud failures that threaten your purpose, it's the quiet fatigue that convinces you to settle halfway. Commitment means showing up when applause fades, when prayers feel unanswered, when faith feels heavy. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 58, "Therefore, my beloved brothers and sisters, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." That verse is your reminder. Nothing you've done in faith has been wasted. Every small act of obedience has built something eternal. The seeds you planted in tears are still growing beneath the surface, even if you can't see the harvest yet. God never forgets consistency. Commitment doesn't look glamorous. It looks like persistence in the mundane. It's not the fire of beginnings, but the endurance of middles. It's the willingness to do what's right, even when it feels like nothing's changing. Heaven rewards not just the passionate, but the persevering. Think of commitment as a lighthouse. It doesn't move when the waves crash. It shines harder. It stands on the same rock, day after day, guiding others through the same storm it endures. You, chosen one, are that light for someone else. Your consistency becomes their map. You've been asking, "What's next?" But heaven is asking, "Will you stay faithful here?" The next season is born out of obedience in this one. Sometimes the door doesn't open because God isn't finished strengthening the hands that will carry what's behind it. Commitment keeps your heart steady until His timing unfolds. In a world where everything is temporary attention, affection promises your commitment will be your distinction. While others drift from one purpose to another, you will stand as proof that real faith endures. You are the bridge between what was promised and what will be fulfilled. Commitment is not about perfection, it's about persistence. Even when you fail, rise again. Even when you doubt, worship again. Heaven doesn't measure you by how many times you fall, but by how many times you choose to rise. And beloved, let your heart stay tender. True commitment flows from love, not obligation. You are not serving a task, you are serving a king. Your devotion is not duty, it's relationship. You are not bound by chains, you are anchored by choice. Now, if these words speak to your spirit, take a moment to do something simple yet sacred. Help this light reach another weary heart. Like this message if it resonated within you. Share it with someone who's losing their strength. And subscribe to stay connected to this stream of truth. When you do, you're not just engaging a page, you're joining a movement of endurance. And if you feel led, sow into this mission. Every seed, whether it's a word, a prayer, or a donation, becomes oil that keeps the lamp burning. Think of it as tending the lighthouse that once guided you through your own storm. Your generosity turns personal healing into collective hope. Even your comments carry power. When you write beneath this message, you're not filling space, you're filling atmosphere. Your words may be the whisper someone else needs to keep standing. So go ahead, share your reflection below. Write something from your spirit. Perhaps it's a prayer, a short testimony, a phrase like, "I'm still standing," or even a simple thank you. Lord, whatever you write, it will echo farther than you imagine. Heaven moves through confession and confirmation. Chosen one, your commitment will be the reason others endure. The world is desperate for steady hearts, for faithful hands, for anchored souls. You are one of them. Keep building when no one claps. Keep believing when nothing moves. Keep shining when the night grows darker, because the reward of commitment is not just blessing, it's becoming. You are becoming the message, the light, the living proof that faith never fails. And when heaven writes your story, it won't just say, "They started strong." It will say, "They stayed." Chosen one. By now, you've learned that the path of purpose is not paved in gold, but in grace. It's not smooth, it's sacred. Every thorn, every valley, every delay has been shaping your understanding of the greatest mystery of all, the balance between the crown and the cross. You were called not only to reign, but also to carry, to wear both glory and grief with the same reverence. The world loves crowns, the visible symbols of success, victory, and honor. But heaven values the cross, the unseen altar of surrender, humility, and obedience. The two are inseparable. Every chosen one must carry both. For without the cross, the crown becomes pride. Without the crown, the cross becomes despair. God teaches you to hold both with grace. There were seasons when you wanted the crown without the weight of the cross. You wanted joy without the discipline, blessing without breaking, influence without isolation. But heaven doesn't work that way. True authority is born in suffering. True glory grows out of surrender. The oil of anointing flows only from crushed olives. When you carried your cross, you weren't being punished, you were being purified. The cross was never meant to destroy you, it was designed to define you. Every burden, every betrayal, every heartbreak was chiseling you into the image of Christ. You were learning compassion, patience, endurance, forgiveness, the qualities that prepare you to wear the crown without arrogance. As written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 24, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me." That call still echoes today. It is the heartbeat of every chosen soul. Following him means carrying what others avoid. It means walking roads that few understand. The crown is always hidden within the cross. You've discovered that carrying the cross is not always public. Sometimes it looks like forgiving when you'd rather forget. Sometimes it's keeping your faith when answers never come. Sometimes it's loving people who have hurt you. These are your daily crucifixions. The quiet sacrifices that no one sees but heaven celebrates. You may not see it yet, but every act of obedience under pressure is weaving gold into your spirit. Every moment you choose surrender over self is a polishing of your crown. Heaven measures strength, not by power, but by purity. The strongest are not those who conquer others, but those who conquer themselves. There is a sacred irony here. The weight of the cross and the weight of the crown are the same. The same hands that once trembled beneath burden will soon lift in victory. The same back that bent beneath sorrow will soon bear the garments of glory. The cross was always a rehearsal for the coronation. Do not despise your scars. Chosen one. The crown you will wear is shaped to fit the wounds you carry. Those marks of endurance are not shame, they are evidence of participation. You walked the narrow road with your Savior. You drank from the same cup. That is the highest honor heaven can bestow. In the quiet corners of your journey, you have learned that glory isn't loud. It whispers through humility. It radiates through peace. It breathes through endurance. Your life is a silent sermon, the kind that doesn't demand attention but draws reverence. Every time you pick up your cross again, angels lean in to watch the beauty of your obedience. You have also learned that the crown is not merely a symbol of reward, it's a call to responsibility. The higher you rise, the deeper you must bow. The more influence you carry, the more love must flow through you. A true crown doesn't elevate you above others, it empowers you to lift others higher. One day, when all is fulfilled, you will stand before the throne, and the crown you once longed for will rest in your hands. But in that moment, you'll understand what every true servant learns. You'll lay it back at his feet, because the glory was never yours, it was always his. Until that day, you will walk with both the cross in your spirit, the crown in your destiny. You will carry pain with peace, power with purity, purpose with patience. This is the paradox of the chosen, broken yet whole, burdened yet blessed, crushed yet crowned. Do not run from either. The cross teaches you how to love. The crown teaches you why it was worth it. Every sacrifice, every prayer, every tear has prepared you for this balance. Heaven has trusted you with both weight and wonder. So, walk forward, chosen one, not ashamed of your scars and not distracted by your shine. You are both the carrier of the cross and the bearer of the crown. The world sees contradiction, heaven sees completion. Chosen one. This is the moment where every word that has been spoken, every tear that has been shed, and every test that has been endured begins to converge. The path behind you glows faintly with the light of all that has been refined in the fire. The air before you hums with something solemn and sweet, a final reminder wrapped in love. You have walked through silence, through surrender, through storms and songs. And now heaven speaks this last time, not to warn you with fear, but to awaken you with truth. There is a tenderness in the way heaven speaks at the end of a journey. The voice that once thundered now whispers, because it no longer needs to convince you, it knows you have learned to recognize its tone. The warning now is no longer about danger, it is about drift. Heaven says, stay close, not out of threat, but out of affection. The greatest temptation of those who have survived the refining is not rebellion, it's forgetfulness. When pain fades and clarity comes, it is easy to become distracted by the blessing you prayed for. You fought so long for peace that when it finally arrives, you risk lowering your guard. But this is the sacred moment when your vigilance must turn inward. The enemy no longer attacks from without, he whispers from within, tempting you to relax your devotion. This is why heaven speaks with warning and with love. You are not being scolded, you are being reminded. The same God who carried you through storms now invites you to guard the stillness. The purpose of the fire was never to destroy you, but to make you luminous. The light within you is strong now, but light must be tended, as declared in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 2. Now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. That is the heart of this final message now, not later, not someday, now. The season of waiting is over. The hour of wavering has ended. The decisions that define destiny are made in the present moment. Heaven's invitation stands open, but it will not wait forever. Grace is patient, but grace still moves with purpose. There is a subtle danger in spiritual delay. It teaches the soul to assume that mercy will always wait. But mercy moves on the rhythm of divine timing. When heaven calls, every not yet builds a wall between revelation and response. This final warning, wrapped in love, is heaven's way of breaking through your hesitation one last time. You are standing in the thin place between what has been and what must now be chosen. Everything you've endured has led to this clarity. The world behind you is finished, and the road before you is holy. You cannot live facing both. To look backward now would be to turn to salt, to preserve pain instead of progress. The Spirit is not demanding perfection, it is inviting closeness. Heaven has never required that you be flawless, only faithful. All God ever wanted was your attention, your trust, your nearness. And now that you have walked through refining, through surrender, through awakening, heaven asks for one more thing: consistency. Remain near when the noise returns. Remain steady when the blessings increase. Remain humble when your name begins to carry weight. The same devotion that sustained you in the valley must guide you on the mountain, because the danger of elevation is pride, and the danger of comfort is complacency. But the remedy for both is remembrance. Remember who saved you. Remember who sustained you. Remember who called you. Remember the nights when you had nothing but faith, and yet it was enough. Those memories are anchors that keep the heart from drifting when the waves of success begin to rise. The final warning of heaven is not beware of the enemy, but beware of forgetting. Forgetting turns victory into vanity. Forgetting transforms gratitude into entitlement. Forgetting causes the chosen to lose their glow and turn ordinary. But love remembers. Love always remembers. Heaven is asking you to remember what it felt like to be desperate for God, how the tears flowed freely, how your prayers felt raw and alive, how you whispered His name like it was oxygen. Don't lose that hunger now that peace has come. That desperation was not weakness, it was worship in its purest form. There is a light that burns within those who remember, a steady flame that cannot be manipulated by circumstances. The world's noise cannot drown it. The enemy's lies cannot dim it. That light is now yours to protect. It is the signature of heaven branded upon your soul. This is why God's warnings come wrapped in love. They are not chains meant to control you. They are reminders meant to preserve you. A loving father warns the child who wanders too near the cliff, not to shame, but to save. And heaven's heart toward you is the same protection disguised as caution. Beloved, as the pages of this divine conversation draw to a close, let the final words settle deep into your spirit. Heaven is still calling your name, not as a command, but as an invitation. You have been chosen, not for comfort, but for closeness, not for recognition, but for relationship. The time of drifting is over. The time of dwelling has come. Walk forward now with the quiet confidence of one who knows that every scar is sacred, every tear was translated, and every trial has turned into testimony. You are the living proof of love's endurance. The story is not ending, it is unfolding into eternity. Heaven has spoken, and you have heard. Now live as one who remembers. Chosen one, before this sacred message closes, pause for a moment. Let the silence around you speak. Heaven has spoken again and again through these words, not to burden you, but to bless you. You've walked through revelation, through fire, through stillness, through awakening, and now you stand renewed. You are not the same person who began this journey. Something inside you has shifted a deeper peace, a sharper discernment, a steadier faith. That transformation is the evidence that heaven's hand has been upon you. So breathe. Feel the weight lift. You have heard, and heaven has seen your response. The story doesn't end here. This is where it begins to live through you. Every truth you've received is meant to be shared. Every word that stirred your spirit is a seed for another soul. Don't let this light stay hidden. Let it travel through your words, your kindness, your courage, your faith. If this message has touched your spirit, then do what heaven's people have always done: pass the flame forward. Like, share, and subscribe, not as an act of routine, but as an act of reverence. When you share light, you multiply it. When you keep it, it fades. Write something below before you leave. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest. A prayer, a reflection, a single phrase like, "I choose light," or "Thank you, Lord." Your comment may be the very word that lifts another chosen one from silence. This community is not an audience, it is a gathering of flames. Together, we are building an altar of words, faith, and courage that darkness cannot silence. Stay connected, stay awake, stay shining. The message has ended, but your mission has only begun.